What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Importance Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about it. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button. Join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the very top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch my channel. So we continue our journey to No Time to Die, which is Daniel Craig's last film as James Bond, and we're headed to 1977. This is 3 years after The Turd That Was a Man with a Golden Gun came out. And we're going to talk about The Spy Who Loved Me, which is actually considered one of Roger Moore's best films as James Bond. This is a very interesting production schedule. They did bring back Gilbert, who did direct the pretty popular You Only Live Twice. I actually really enjoyed that movie. But they actually asked a lot of big name directors to do this. They actually asked Steven Spielberg at one point to do this right after Jaws, but I think he was just so tired after Jaws he didn't do it. And they asked Richard Donner. Richard Donner was actually going to do this film, but he got stuck with Superman 2. And believe it or not, they asked Guy Hamilton to come back after the crap that he did with The Man with the Golden Gun, which is really surprising. So, but they went to Gilbert. Thank God, because Gilbert is a competent director. He did a really nice job with this film. It has a very interesting, kind of quirky, unique feel to it. It's very 70s feel, and it's just a very interesting, fun Bond film. It has the quirks and the interesting takes and the ideas of what James Bond is, which is a super spy taking down a super villain. That's just what Bond does. He doesn't do heroin deals and stuff like that. When they were writing this, they actually looked at people like John Landis to write it, which is really interesting. They were really into the American scene. It's pretty crazy because between Burt Reynolds and the American Tom Mankiewicz, bringing him in, they really kind of wanted to go the American route. But John Landis, unfortunately, he was out, and they brought back Richard Maybaum to kind of fix the script with Christopher Wood. And the story it's a pretty simple one. It's the story of Bond basically going to Egypt and Italy to stop a madman from starting World War III again. There's a lot of World War IIIs in this franchise. And basically what's happening is these submarines, their missiles are being taken by this character played by Kurt Jürgens, who plays Karl Stromberg. And Karl Stromberg is, like I said, he's a madman. He's your typical supervillain. But he's very kind of like Dr. No-ish. I guess they were trying to bring back either Dr. No or they were trying to bring back Blofeld. But they went with Stromberg because that's the way the script was being played out. It felt a lot better. So there is a lot of mannerisms. There is a lot of feel to Stromberg's character that's very similar to Blofeld and Dr. No. But he has like a really cool base. It's underwater. He's actually trying to start World War III to eradicate the lands so he can have people live under the sea. So it's like Little Mermaid meets Aquaman or something like that. In fact, he calls his underwater thing Atlantis. So he's really into that underwater thing. But he has a base, and there's a really cool sequence which is very similar to the Piranha sequence, and I think You Only Live Twice, now I think about it. We have these two scientists who basically help out Stromberg in getting his weapons and getting him ready to basically take over, destroy North America and South America and all that good stuff. But because Stromberg is a supervillain, because he has an underwater thing, he loves sharks and fish and stuff like that. Well, he basically says, oh, there's a traitor in our midst. They're selling secrets to get us in trouble because the microfiche thing, that it becomes a running thing through the movie. But the person he tells to leave is his assistant or his girlfriend. I don't know who it is, but she's this young, smallish character. She's sent into the elevator. The elevator opens up underneath, and she gets eaten by a shark. It's a pretty amazing sequence. Pretty crazy that the woman is the one that gets eaten, but I enjoy the sequence. I think it's funny. I think it's just over the top, outlandish. It's very, very Bondish, so it is what it is. But this is where he brings his two henchmen in. We have Milton Reid, who is playing Sandor, and he's like this little, weird, small, bald-headed guy that is good at what he does. But the real character, the real villain in this movie, outside of Stromberg, is one of the most famous Bond villains in history, and that is Richard Kiel, who is playing Jaws. Now, if you know who Richard Kiel is, he was actually in Happy Gilmore. He had the nail stuck in his head, very famous, character in that movie. But here he's playing the infamous Jaws, who has a metal mouth, who can rip through metal and rip through chains. He does some weird thing with Dracula where he rips the people's throat out. It's very, very graphic, but it's an amazing character because he's so simple, he's so unique, he's so good at what he does that when Bond goes up against him, it really feels like Bond is going up against a wall, is going up against a muscle, is going up against something unholy unique, and it's really fun to watch. Richard Kiel does not talk in this movie, but his mannerisms, the way he acts, the way he gets through everything, he seems to live in every form or fashion. Stuff blows up or he crashes in a car. It's a pretty amazing character. I really enjoy it. I don't think I enjoy it as much as like Odd Job, but I really, really love this character. And I am a little bit bothered that in the very next movie, Moonraker, apparently he's made to be kind of like a comic relief. And if you're gonna have a character like this who is really over the top, don't make him the comic relief. Make him the fun character. Make him the character that does crazy things. But apparently he has a turn in that movie, so I'm not really looking forward to Moonraker. I heard it's really bad. But Bond is a character. He's actually more realized in this movie. I think Roger Moore has kindly got a grasp of the James Bond character. Yes, he beds women a lot. There's a very fun sequence at the very beginning before the Spy Who Loved Me theme comes on that is basically a homage to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Actually, they may have taken it because they aren't considering On Her Majesty's Secret Service canon or some whatever, where he's bedding a woman, then he does a snow sequence, and then he actually does a very famous sequence where he jumps off a mountain and parachutes, down. That's when the theme song pops in. But it's just a really fun Bond. It's a character that like is very Roger Moore. It's very cheesy. It's very, over the top. But he does a really nice job with his character. And he meets a character who is played by Barbara Bach, who plays Amasova, or Agent Triple X. Go figure. Who is this KGB agent who is actually with James Bond is going after the same thing in Egypt, where they're trying to find this microfiche. Which, if you don't know what microfiche is, it's kind of like a piece of photograph that has pictures and stuff like in it. So you put it up against a screen. It has like secret plans and stuff like that. That's what microfiche is. It's really out to date, but it's of its time. So, and they really develop a relationship. But the thing about Amasova, that's very interesting, is she kind of rejects Bond at first. She is there with a mission. Her and her commander are there to get that microfiche to stop this guy Stromberg from committing a heinous act. And it's really interesting because you have Amasova, who's a KGB agent, and we're in the middle of the Cold War still, so it's still the 70s. And you have Bond, who's a UK Secret Service agent, and they have to work together to get this microfiche when they eventually get to that point. But it's a very interesting dynamic because she rejects him, and he can't handle it, but they somehow get together, so it kind of works itself out in the end. It's really crazy. But Bond goes after him. They land in Stromberg's hold, where he disguises himself as an architect or whatever he is, and it's just a really cool, fun sequence between him and Stromberg, because Jaws has kind of made it well known that he is Bond and that they had a fight on a train. And the train sequence is a lot of fun because Jaws and Bond fight, and he actually rips the bulb off a light and it actually shocks Jaws, and he pushes him out the train. There's a lot of similar sequences to other movies, but it's done a little bit better here. But I just like how Bond is he knows who Stromberg is, and Stromberg knows who he is, and it's kind of a fun play off of just the two characters. And that's what I like about this movie. It's just a fun Bond adventure. It does what it needs to do. It's not the best Bond in the world, but for a Roger Moore Bond up to this point, it's pretty damn good. I'm going to be honest with you. It's pretty good. And the Bond girl is pretty decent. I think I don't know if they dubbed her or not, but some of the dialogue is a little wonky, a little cheesy, but that's not her fault. I mean, apparently she was auditioning and thinking she was going to get a supporting role. It's probably one of those Bond girls he lays in the beginning. But she becomes the main character, and she fits well into this franchise, into this movie at hand. But as with every Bond film, there's a lot of cool gadgets, especially when we see Desmond Llewelyn and his role, and he's showing the microfiche, and he is showing, we see his lab, which is a really strange place to have it. They have it in one of the tombs on Egypt and, Cairo. And they're stationed there where, the KGB people were at and the UK people were at, with M and Miss Moneypenny, who is, in this movie as well. And it's really kind of interesting. Like when they take these sequences and they take them to the different locales, it's always funny to see these people pop up because they're in the most random of places. Like I didn't expect, Miss Moneypenny and M and Q to be in an Egypt temple. It was really, really weird. But the biggest thing to come out of this movie, outside of Jaws and outside of just being a fun story, is the Lotus Esprit or Lotus Esprit or something like that, Lotus Esprit or something like that. It's one of the most famous cars in the Bond franchise, and it is a very popular car for a reason. This car it's cool. It's very of its time, but it does one thing that most cars don't do. It turns itself into a submarine. And my God, that is exciting because in the process, they're like being chased by Jaws. They're being chased by another henchwoman, which is a lot of fun because she's a sexy henchwoman that's flying a helicopter. How she dies is pretty amazing by a missile and stuff like that. But it's like really cool. It has like goo that spurs out the back of the bumper or whatever, and it, like it's really funny. It hits in Jaws' vehicle and he crashes into a barn and he gets out. And he's just like he walks away. You're gonna see Jaws eventually again when he fights James Bond on Atlantis or whatever it is. The Spirit jumps off a cliff into the water and all of a sudden turns into a submarine or underwater car. And it's just a fantastic sequence because on top of that, you have all these, you know, all these underwater characters and like villains and henchmen that are going after them in their own little devices. And they're using like squid like tech with the car with spewing out like black ink and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it really helps the movie just become really goofy and really over the top, but just not into a sense where it's being like detrimental to the movie itself, like Man with the Golden Gun was. But it's just a really fun sequence, and it really shows off the Bond gadgets. We're starting to get into that phase where we're seeing the over the top Bond gadgets. But I love it. It's a famous car. It's a fun car to watch. And when they get to Atlantis, you know, they see the submarine. Bond saves the day by shooting the nuclear weapons at each other, the two submarines. They destroy the base, and that's the end of the movie. It's very simple. Like I said, James Bond is going after Stromberg. Stromberg is trying to start World War III so he can have underwater Atlantis. And it's just a fun movie. It's a good time. It's a fun Bond film. It's something that it made a lot of money. It was very well received by the English audience, the American, the world audience, and kind of proved that Roger Moore could be a capable Bond character, a capable James Bond. Not necessarily later on with his other films, but at least at this point, he finally gave us a Bond film that we enjoyed. So there's that. But and then we have Carly Simon, who does the song "Nobody Does It Better," "Despite You Love Me," the theme song for the movie, and the song is just an amazing piece of work. She belts the hell out of the song. She just encapsulates why this song is just so good with her singing, her raw talent, and she's just it's an amazing piece of work. It's an amazing score. It's an amazing song, and really gets you into the mood of what Bond does with scores and themes and so on and so forth. So it's a really fantastic piece of music. And because John Barry unfortunately couldn't come back because he was probably busy and so on and so forth with his 5,000 films he was working on, they brought in Marvin Hamlish to do the score for this movie. And to be honest, it really did take a lot of time to get used to because it's really different than anything John Barry has done or will do. It's very bombastic. It's very orchestral. It's very different, and it feels almost like a circus score, not to be detrimental to the score itself, but it's very just kind of it's very hard to explain, but it's a very different score. But it fits the movie and you get used to it, so you kind of enjoy it. And I think it actually is a pretty decent score for what it is. I think John Barry does it better, but I just, it is what it is. The only thing that bothered me is they ripped off Lawrence of Arabia during the desert scenes. I'm like, you are really going there? Why are you taking Lawrence of Arabia and putting it in a Bond film? Like, Lawrence of Arabia has such a memorable score, and you're putting it in a Bond film. It feels kind of cheap and kind of lazy and haphazard. So that did bother me. I kind of just knock it down a little bit because of that, but it's still a fun score. So, but that's it. Harry Saltzman, who was the staple, one of the main producers of this franchise, he did leave, I think, before this film or after, one of the two. So the Broccoli family was kind of in charge from here on out. Harry Saltzman, with all his qualms and issues that he has starting the franchise, owning the franchise and having the Broccoli family kind of thrust him into making the franchise with Dr. No, I still give him credit. He was still an important figure for this franchise, and he did a lot of good work, and his stamp on the franchise is still well noticed and still well respected. But him leaving, it's sad to see, but you know what? It happens. People pass away or people retire. But the Broccoli family, continued. Eon Pictures with Barbara Broccoli, continued after her father died. So, it is what it is, but there you go. But anyways, that'll do it. That is my take on The Spy Who Loved Me. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this movie. Do you love it? Do you not love it? If you do love it, tell me what your favorite part about it is. If you don't love it, you're not going to tell me that. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to see what's coming next. And comment below on any videos you see, including this one. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.